How does he really work? Should I use Pendant or Horn? And what are the best talent builds and pairs for him? Today we're going to be diving deep into the new commander, Huang. So buckle up because I am going to unlock the full potential of your Huang. So this is going to be one of the commander pair mathematics video, or I guess it's kind of like a advanced guide video where we are diving deep into the numbers. I've already done the rage engine simulation and also equipment suggestion calculation, but I am not gonna dive too deep into the mathematical aspect. Instead, I'm just gonna provide a few key points and results, all right? And let us start off with the Huang key points, okay? So here are some key points that you should be understanding. First of all, he doesn't do white damage. As we know, he converts the white damage into the direct damage, but all of the effects of basic attack still gets triggered. Alright, so these are including talents and accessories. So this has been tested once he came into the game. Secondly, on the open field, he is casting his skill every 4 seconds. That's kind of insane. That is kind of insane. And this means that he is consuming at least 250 rage per turn, okay, for targeting 6 targets. And then third point is his AoE range is same as Zhuge and YSG, and also it is circular AoE. Fourth and last point is that rage cap is being applied last. Will made a video about this, and also, VIP support answered this. We also figured that, once he came into the game, this was the case. So what is happening with Huang is that first you are gaining rage. No matter how many rages that you are just gaining the total amount of rage. And then from that you are using the rage consumption to cast your skill, right? And only after that, in the last, the rage cap of 220 rage is being applied. Now, in terms of total rage consumed, second skill is consuming 100 rage per second. Third skill is maximum if you are hitting 6 target. It is consuming 150 rage per second. And then we also have the fourth skill, which is you are consuming rage to mitigate that damage. And the maximum you are consuming 40 rage to reduce the damage by 40%. And it can trigger 6 times per second. So here are the total rage consumption, and then maximum per second you are consuming 490 rage per second. But most of the time on open field, you're gonna be only doing the first 2 skill, 250 rage per second. And then every now and then, yes, of course, it's gonna be like RNG factor, right? But you are gonna be getting hit by combo or smite damage. And because of that, you are gonna be consuming slightly more rage. Now regarding skill cycle, because the maximum amount of rage you are consuming is 490, right? And because of that, skill cycle time can go down to 3 seconds. But skill cycle of Huang is never gonna go down to 3 seconds, okay? Because commanders have a 1 second of internal cooldown when they are casting their skill. So if there's 2 commanders, it's gonna be cast skill, wait 1 second, cast skill, wait 1 second. In other words, Huang is casting their skills at the fastest possible rate. It's insane. There are also some potential hidden advantages in terms of Huang. Because Huang is already here and I am currently in KVK, right? And there are a couple of things that I noticed. When he enters combat, he is right away tagging 6 different enemy. And this is actually quite important because even in the new crystal tag, where everyone is really tanky and they're doing not so much damage, but even if that is the case, it is possible that you are getting one shot. And if that happens, usually your march goes out of combat. If you touch one target and that target dies, you just go out of combat. But Huang is not gonna go out of combat because you are tagging 6 different enemies. This is very hidden potential. This means that once you enter combat, it is really hard for you to lose your rage unless you go back and retreat, right? Otherwise, if you are just keep touching enemies, you are gonna be staying in combat without dropping the risk of dropping rage. Now, the second one is even if you are not hitting enemies, right? Even if you are not using your second skill or third skill, you are still gonna be building up your rage meter thanks to the fourth skill. This means that as long as you have rage to consume. If you are keep getting hit by combo or smite damage, your rage bar is gonna go up and up and up, and when you touch the enemy, you are just instantaneously cast your skill. The third point is that the main strength of Qinshu Huang comes with the shortest possible skill cycle. Theoretically, it is good idea to put high skill damage AoE commander as a secondary, and if you are casting your skill every 4 seconds, that means your secondary commander is gonna be also firing off his skill quite often, right? Regarding top pairs, number 1 pair is gonna be Zhuge. I think Zhuge and Qinshu Huang is designed to be together. The second pair that can work, is YSG. It's still very decent pair, and especially like if you are running only 1 March, it's gonna be Qinshu Huang Zhuge, no questions asked, right? But if you are running like 2 Archer March, you can use like Qinshu Huang YSG and maybe Zhuge Herman or Zhuge Philip. All the other commanders like Herman, Asher, Philip, right? All the other commanders comes with the less priority in terms of pairing with Qinshu Huang. They are gonna run into some rage problems. Okay, I'm gonna explain a little bit later. Now let us go to the commander pairing, and we are gonna talk about immediately with Qinshu Huang and Zhuge and what are the best builds of this particular pairing. Okay, for Qinshu Huang and Zhuge there are 3 different viable builds in terms of talent and accessories. Yes, 3 different. They're all gonna work perfectly. So depending on what you have, you can use either of these. Okay, the first build with again Qinshu Huang Zhuge, you are not gonna use horn. Instead, you are gonna be using ring and pendant. And then in terms of your talent, you are not gonna be taking the feral nature. We usually take this, but in Qinshu Huang Zhuge case, it is not the case. Let me zoom in with the talent. So this is the talent that I'm talking about. You go rejuvenate, and then you are gonna be taking the razor sharp for a little bit extra rage, and then you are gonna be putting 3 points into the whistling arrows. With this exact talent tree, you are going to be doing the maximum amount of damage with the most efficiency. The reason why you are not really building rage build on Qinshu Huang is Zhuge is already offering many rage with his expertise skill. Here I have calculated the skill cycles, and the graph that you see here is the overall rage that you have in the tank after each turn. So you gain a rage and then you consume some, and after like in the first turn you are gonna have 444 rage. In second turn, it's gonna decrease a little bit, 388 rage. So after each turn, this is the total amount of rage that you have in your tank to use. Even if we do not have the horn or even feral nature, our rage is still increasing. Now keep in mind that this graph is not considering the Qinshu Huang's 4th skill. As we know, the 4th skill is he is consuming 40 rage to mitigate or reduce the smite or combo damage by 40%. This rage consumption is not being calculated in this graph. On open field is all about RNG, right? I mean, you are getting hit by combo or smite or not. Sometimes you are getting hit them by a lot, sometimes you're not getting hit them by a lot, and sometimes you are just getting focused down. The idea here is no matter what the case, you want to have your rage building up little by little. Just in case if you are getting hit by a random smite or combo damage or getting focused, you are still gonna have some rage to use up in your tank. Right? This is kind of like a risk mitigation. Even without horn and feral nature, we have that risk mitigation factor right here. Now, in terms of equipment, I'm suggesting the 2KVK weapon and helmet and then 4 set. Other equipments does work. Again, I'm going to talk about them a little bit later. Now, let us go to the second build. Now, here we are using horn, and also we are using a slightly different talent. And if you see the graph, this one right here with the horn is we are gaining rage a little bit more. With horn, you don't really have to take the razor sharp. Now we are being able to max out the whistling arrows, right? Previously, we were only getting 3 points here, but here we can max it out. And also with the 2 remaining point, I am putting that point into Naked Rage. Now, this talent is not that popular talent, right? It's not a meta talent. Yes, you are gonna be doing 4% more skill damage in exchange, taking 4% more skill damage, but Qinshi Huang and Zhuge Liang are tanky enough to afford this. The damage output of these two builds varies very similar. Okay, both is very viable. So whichever accessory you have, you can use this. By the way, instead of the pendant right here, you can still use ring. Okay, pendant is just gonna perform like slightly better, but ring is still very viable build here. Now, here comes a third build that is also superbly interesting build. We are using this accessory, but we are using this talent. Okay, using this accessory, but we are using this talent. All right. The reason why this is gonna work is that if you have drums build, okay, if you have drums build and all of your other marches are running drums, or if you are running commanders who are giving rage such as Joan or William, this is absolutely optimized version that you can run. Your accessory is giving you max amount of damage. Also, your talent is giving you the max amount of damage, which is this one, right? You will have maximum point into the whistling arrows and 2 more points into the Naked Rage. Now, here comes the 4th point that I'm highlighting right here. I just wanted to show you guys what would happen if you try to use the conventional talent and conventional build like horn and pendant or horn and ring. In that case, we are just gaining too much rage. Of course, again, at the end of the day, it is RNG. If you are getting hit by a lot of smite combo damage, you are going to be consuming from this rage, but the conventional like a feral nature build and with horn is not that much like min-maxed efficient. Now, before we proceed, I want to also talk about a budget version of Qinshi Huang and Zhuge Liang, okay? Because a lot of people have been asking me, is there a budget version? The answer is yes. The budget version that I suggest is Qinshi Huang at 5551. Now, the difference between maxed Qinshi Huang and non-maxed Qinshi Huang is the maxed Qinshi Huang is gonna be guaranteed casting their skill every 4 seconds. On the other hand, the budget version, the 5511, he's gonna be casting his skill every like 5 seconds. And if you are getting hit by, again, RNG, smite or combo damage, yeah, it can go down to 4 seconds, but most of the time it's gonna be every 5 seconds. In terms of rage, the 5511 version is having a slight problem. Even if you are using the horn and feral nature, right, it is your rage are hitting like 0 rage at some point. Qinshi Huang really wanna get expertise. So in terms of equipments, as I suggested, the best possible equipment is this one, the 2 KVK set and then 4 set. However, you can still use other builds like this 6 set piece. And in terms of the performance, it is only performing like 2% less. Now, we also have the today's meta of using the leadership gear. Now, in terms of performance, this leadership gear, the trade potential or the trade effectiveness is kind of like similar to the 6 set that we just talked about here, right? But we are just getting much more tankier. One advantage with the leadership is that you are gaining the march speed, right, from the leadership pants. So yes, these 3 builds are still very viable. Oh, by the way, in terms of the leadership, instead of the chest and gloves, you can still use the non-set chest piece and non-set gloves. By the way, if you want this type of calculation done on your account, check out my account coaching service. Just join my Discord server, the link is in the description below, and there you will find a guide how you can get the coaching service. Currently I am in a KUK and my Kingsland is about to start, so I am not accepting any more trainees, but I will update you guys whenever I'm accepting more trainees. Let us go to the second pairing, which is Qinshi Huang and YSG. They are kind of having sometimes they have a little bit problem with the rage tank is not really moving up, but it's not really moving down. Even though YSG does have a rage engine, it's not as good as rage engine of Zhuge Liang. It's not making the graph go high. Instead, it's kind of like keeping the graph like in the middle. It's not going up and down. With the Qinshi Huang and YSG, you gotta have the horn build. This is must have with the YSG. And you gotta have the conventional talent build. So this is the talent tree that I'm talking about. Go Venomous Sting, get the Razor Sharp, get Feral Nature, and then you can take this 6% March Speed or drop this section and then go for Archer Attack stat. Okay. Now in terms of raw damage output, Qinshi Huang and YSG is doing more damage than Qinshi Huang and Zhuge. Just raw commander damage, okay? However, if we consider the talent builds, right, on Zhuge, we are going all in on the archer tree, and then we are also using 2 damage accessories. If we consider all of these, the damage output can be similar, or the Zhuge might be even doing a little bit more damage as compared to YSG. So YSG is really kind of like the second best option here, okay? Zhuge is just being the godlike pair for Qinshi Huang. Now in terms of equipment, you can use the current leadership pieces, okay? 2 KK, 2 leadership, and then 2 set or 2 non-set. And there could be other options. For example, you can still use the 6 set. The 6 set is still very good. It is only performing like 1.5% less. The leadership variation is performing also slightly less than this. A 4 set, 2 and 4. However, the number is like around 0.5%. It's very, very less. In exchange, you are becoming tremendously more tankier. Now, lastly, let me talk about Qinshi Huang and all other commanders. So other commanders doesn't really have rage engine, right? So in that case, what happens is that even if we are stacking rage like Horn and then Feral Nature, right? Our rage is like slowly going down. Keep in mind that this is not, we are considering the 4th skill of Qinshi Huang, right? Like for example, in this turn, if we are getting bursted down, then all of a sudden we are no longer having rage to cast our skill. I mean, you could argue that you can run Drums build to support this, and then you could run like Joan or again Williams to give some rage in order to mitigate this problems that we are facing right here. But really Qinshi Huang and other commanders, the rage becomes a slight issue like in open field. But can you run the other commanders? Absolutely yes. You can run Philip, Herman, or Ashur, and the main reason is on open field you're going back and forth a lot of the time, and sometimes you are just go out of combat. And if that is the case, when you re-engage and enter combat, you are gonna be getting this 500 rage again. So when you are pairing Qinshi Huang with, for example, Herman, okay, there's just slight risk of running out of rage, but they can work. Alright, with that, our video ends here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great day, and peace.